Welcome to Senpai, your new home for immersive manga, manhwa, anime-inspired novels, and fantasy audiobook stories. Here, every episode brings you into a world of overpowered heroes, revenge arcs, cultivation journeys, virtual reality games, monsters, magic, and emotional character moments. Whether you enjoy dark fantasy, action, reincarnation, system stories, or epic adventure novels, Senpai is here to turn every chapter into a cinematic listening experience. So relax, put on your headphones, and let the story begin. Subscribe to Senpai and join the journey. Getting them a much better room might put undue pressure on that young girl, Tianxin advised him in a whisper. Judging by how this young lady has voluntarily written you an IOU, it's clear that she doesn't want to owe you any favors. If you get them a VIP room, how do you expect the young lady to repay the favor? I don't need her to repay me. Speaking of which, she gave me her blood. How could I possibly repay her for that? Since Tianxin had saved his life, nothing he could do to try and repay her could be considered excessive. There's no point in you telling me all this. You need to consider that young lady's state of mind and her feelings. Full of concern, Tianxin looked into the ward. That old lady was critically ill. Why wasn't there a grown-up from her family present? Tianxin stood at the entrance to the ward, debating whether or not he should go in. He feared that, instead of helping them like he intended, he might not be of help at all and put undue pressure on the young lady instead. Standing to the side, Tianxin patted Tianxin on the shoulder. I'll be off now. Call me if something comes up, and I'll have a word with the doctor.
Hey, sis.
You should get going then.
Tianxin lauga indulgently.
Why did she have the feeling that her little brother was getting romantically entangled with this girl?
Nah.
She must have gotten the wrong vibe. Surely that young lady couldn't be more than 18 years old? Her brother was already 26, and in his current condition, how could he possibly have any romantic feelings toward that 18-year-old little girl? Tianxin was in a dilemma. He really wanted to go into the ward. He felt an impulse to go in there and tell the young lady not to be afraid, that he was here and that everything would be all right, that he would protect her. Suddenly, as if she had a telepathic connection with him, Tianxin turned around and met Tianxin's worried eyes dead on. Busted. Tianxin rubbed his cheeks. Had he been in the hospital for too long? Had his hospital stay dulled his sense of awareness? This was so embarrassing. His face turned a crimson red. Tianxin walked toward the door. Her eyes were red and still a little swollen from all the crying, and there was a healthy blush on her porcelain-like cheeks. Thank you so much. You've been a great help. If it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have known what to do. Faced with a pretty young girl thanking him so profusely and sincerely in such a gentle, sweet voice, even the usually arrogant little overlord Tianxin felt self-conscious. His earlobes turned slightly red, and his heart pounded so rapidly that he felt like it was going to jump out of his throat. You're very welcome. When Tianxin heard himself blurt out those words, he badly wanted to slap himself. Had he lost the ability to speak properly too? You saved my life once. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be alive right now. Tianxin assessed Tianxin from head to toe. She was tall and thin. One look, and he could tell that she was undernourished. He resolved to himself find a way to build up her health. After all, he had used up a lot of her blood. We're both Rh negative, so we should help each other out. If you hadn't agreed to help me, I would have been at a complete loss for what to do. Tianxin was sincerely grateful to Tianxin. She knew that he was a good person. Aren't you a student? Why are you in Capital City? Have you stopped school? Or has your grandmother's illness become too serious? Tianxin asked an endless string of questions, not realizing that, in his heart, he'd already accepted Tianxin as one of his own. He was showing concern for one of his own. What was wrong with that? When Tianxin mentioned her grandmother's illness, tears started rolling down Tianxin's cheeks like beads from a broken string. Now, Tianxin didn't like girls who cried. He thought they were a nuisance. And when he saw that Tianxin was crying, it was like he had two left feet. He was at a complete loss for how to react. All he could do was retrieve a packet of tissue from the pocket of his hospital garb, pull a piece of out from the opening in the center of the pack, and hand it to Tianxin. Don't cry. A girl's tears are precious. Tianxin had never consoled a girl before, and he had no clue how to do it. But seeing Tianxin cry so brokenheartedly, he just uttered whatever came to mind first. If you're feeling really sad and heartbroken, I'll lend you my shoulder for you to lean on for a bit. No big deal. Lifting her tear-filled eyes, Tianxin looked at Tianxin's face. Suddenly, she took one step forward, hugged Tianxin tightly around the waist, and plastered her face against his chest and wailed, pouring out all her pain and suppressed anguish. It was the first time that Tianxin had ever been hugged by a girl, and he had no idea whatsoever as to where he should place his hands. And he had no idea what to say. He stiffly placed his hands on Tianxin's back and gently patted her, whispering soothingly and softly, "Don't be afraid. I'm here. You're one of my own. I've got your back." For Tianxin, this was a moment of weakness. She couldn't understand why she had become so weak in Tianxin's presence. It was as if she thought they had a natural affinity with each other. Or perhaps it was because some of the blood running through Tianxin's body was actually hers. After a while, Tianxin pulled herself away from Tianxin's embrace. She raised her head and, looking a tad shy, said, "Thank you for the hug. I feel much better now. Li Qingsong felt something heavy pull away from his chest. Lowering his head, he looked at the porcelain-smooth, pretty face and suddenly reached out to gently caress the top of Yi Tianxin's head. Don't be afraid. I'm here for you. Yi Tianxin turned sideways and looked at her grandmother, who'd been put on in 4 drip. She then turned back to Li Qingsong and said, "Have you been seriously injured? You should go back to your room and rest. I'll wait for my grandmother to wake up. Then we'll head back to where my grandmother and I are staying and pick up the bank book. I'll use it to make a cash withdrawal and pay back the money I owe you." Li Qingsong didn't respond to Yi Tianxin. Instead, he walked over to Grandma's bedside, pulled up a chair, and sat down. His handsome face no longer had the shy, helpless expression it had earlier. "About the money, there's no hurry. If your grandmother is really seriously ill, would you like me to recommend some doctors to you? Can you do that?" Yi Tianxin looked happily at Li Qingsong. With total disregard for propriety, she grabbed Li Qingsong's hands and whispered, "You mustn't lie to me." "Okay, idiot."
Likinekan kurso silan li.
All he had to do was make one phone call, and every doctor in the country would stand in line to wait to treat Yi Tianxin's grandmother. "I won't lie to you." Yi Tianxin's eyes shone brilliantly, as if they were filled with dozens of tiny stars. "Really?" she asked. "Yes, really. I won't lie to you." Yi Tianxin was so happy that she wanted to jump for joy. She felt like she could see hope dawning on the horizon. So it was really true that kindness begets kindness. "How can I ever repay you for your kindness? Benefactor, I still don't know your name, but from now on, if there's anything you need, I will willingly go through hell and high water to get it for you." When Li Qingsong heard this, he got the impression that what Yi Tianxin was really saying was that, since there was no other way she could ever repay his kindness for saving Grandma's life, she was offering herself to him as payment. The issue was repayment really necessary? Was she really going to offer herself to him? Forget it. This little girl was still too young, too green.
Yep.
Not his cup of tea. You're making too much of a deal out of this. There's no need to do this. In light of our relationship, is it really necessary to stand on ceremony? Li Qingsong sat officiously in the chair for a short while, but he felt that the atmosphere in the ward was a little weird. He looked at Yi Tianxin's appearance and was filled with a sensation he couldn't quite describe. After some time, he rose from the chair and told Yi Tianxin, "Just stay here and rest up. If anything comes up, go over to the block out front, to room 1101 and ask for me. Look me up. And come get me if any of the doctors or nurses are rude to you. Is that clear?" Yi Tianxin nodded and walked Li Qingsong to the elevator lobby. From inside the elevator, Li Qingsong waved to Yi Tianxin, who stood facing him outside the doors. "You should head back now. Use the bed next to your grandma's if it's unoccupied. Remember to rest up." "Okay." Li Qingsong pressed the down button in the elevator. Suddenly, Yi Tianxin started. This guy had come specially to help her, and she didn't even know his name. She used a hand to block the elevator doors. "What is it? Is your hand hurt?" Li Qingsong held onto Yi Tianxin's hand, examining it carefully. After confirming that she wasn't hurt, he released her hand. Lifting her face up to him, Yi Tianxin smiled sweetly and asked, "Benefactor, what is your name, please?"
Li Qingkan.
Li as in Li High, powerful. Qing as in King Dianzu, Optimus Prime. Tsong as in Tsongtian, the skies. "Brotherly, I will remember that. Thank you." After the elevator doors closed shut, Li Qingsong checked his reflection in the mirror. Had he suffered a setback? Otherwise, why else did he feel so feverish? And why was his face so flushed? And his heart? Why was it beating so rapidly? Musing over this, Li Qingsong headed back to his room. Once he stepped inside, his ear was twisted by Li Xingchen. "Li Xingchen, let go. Didn't you just tell me that you're not interested in that young girl? And then what do you go do? You hug her? And caress her head? And hold hands? Li Qingsong, you're getting bolder with age. How could you even think of having designs on such a young girl?" Li Qingsong glared fiercely at Li Xingchen. "I say, my dear sister, you have a dirty mind. I'm 26. If I actually had designs on that young girl, what would that make me? That would make a dirty old man. It would make me a bad guy guilty of one of the 10 most heinous and unforgivable crimes." Li Xingchen looked long and hard at Li Qingsong. She was his sister. How could she not know when her little brother had the hots for someone? The point was that her little overlord of a brother had never been interested in the wholesome little girl next door type. So, why did he single out this young girl? What did he see differently in her? In the past, as far as the girl next door types were concerned, he'd always been uneasy around them, even if they were standing over a meter away from him, let alone locked in his embrace. "Stop talking rubbish. You're about 7 or 8 years older than that young girl. How would that make you a bad guy guilty of one of the 10 most heinous and unforgivable crimes? In fact, the age gap between you is perfect. You, being older, would be considerate and treat her like a princess, and her, being younger, would run rings around you because you'd spoil her. Hold it right there."
Li Qingkan Yayat.
"Sis, you are truly a professional when it comes to the art of creative writing, weaving such elaborate stories out of nothing. So, tell me, when I met that young girl for the first time, I was semi-conscious, and when we met the second time, I was in this ridiculous getup. You tell me, if you were in her shoes, would you find me attractive?" Li Xingchen took one look at the comical appearance her brother made in his hospital gown and found it impossible to lie and say that she'd find him attractive. It was really side-splittingly hilarious.
Ukobo.
And here she was, thinking that there was actually someone who was attracted to her little overlord brother. Li Qingsong was extremely offended by Li Xingqian's silence. Was he really so unpresentable? After all, they were biological siblings. Couldn't she have at least lied and allowed him to save face?
Sis.
You should go home now. Otherwise, my brother-in-law will come to the hospital and cuff you. Glancing sideways at Li Qingsong, Li Xingqian informed him. I've spoken with the relevant departments. From now on, they will deliver 3 meals a day every day to the grandmother and granddaughter. And you shouldn't run around. Just focus on getting well soon so that the family doesn't have to worry about you. Also, I've been thinking, if you'll really miss not being able to see that young girl again, I could arrange for you to move to a room closer to them. Li Qingsong immediately jumped out of bed. Repeatedly waving his hand, he said, No need. I'm perfectly fine on my own here. So, you won't run amok again? Rest up and get well soon. Li Qingsong, I'm warning you. If you disobey me again, I'll have your brother-in-law come beat you up. Noting that his sister was now using his brother-in-law against him, Li Qingsong was at a loss for a rebuttal and could only reply, Understood. Li Xingqian was about to say something else but held back, concerned that it might backfire. So, all she ended up saying was that he should go to bed early. Then she walked out of his room. After Li Xingqian left, Li Qingsong sat in his bed, a million things racing through his mind. He simply couldn't calm his mind. Feeling slightly frustrated, he ruffled his hair. After having spent many days in the hospital, his short hair had grown longer and appeared a tad messy. His eyes, accentuated by his ink-black dagger-shaped brows, were deep-set pools of mystic serenity. And in his eyes, confused emotions that he couldn't describe or understand swirled in their depths. He thought long and hard for a really long time, but still couldn't come up with an answer. Forget it. Since he couldn't figure it out, he'd stop thinking and go to bed. After Yi Tianxin saw Li Qingsong off, she returned to the ward. Grandma was still unconscious. She looked so serene, as though she were sleeping soundly and peacefully. But Yi Tianxin knew that her grandmother's body was rapidly aging and that her health was quickly deteriorating. According to the specialist, Grandma's cancer had started to spread throughout her body. Yi Tianxin was lucky they had discovered it in time. Otherwise, Grandma's situation could have been a lot worse. After sitting and resting for a while, Yi Tianxin once again started to feel anxious. Picking up the plastic wash basin, she went to the boiler room for some hot water and prepared to clean her grandmother's face with a towel. Li Xingqian was a kind and meticulous sister who paid attention to detail. She had prepared some daily necessities for Yi Tianxin, including cups, spoons for eating, face towels, toothpaste, a toothbrush, and more. At this time, Yi Tianxin still didn't know that the pretty and meticulous lady who'd come over with Li Qingsong was his sister. She simply assumed that she was Li Qingsong's colleague. Using the warm towel, Yi Tianxin gently wiped her grandmother's face, slowly moving it across her skin. Grandma had aged. Her hands especially. Because she threaded needles and sewed all year round, calluses had long since formed on her fingertips from the constant pricking from her embroidery needles. Her grandmother had been trained in the ancient embroidery techniques by the Jiaming traditional embroidery community. All these years, she had used these hands of hers to embroider things like shoe insoles, handkerchiefs, and other minor handicrafts to make a living for herself and Yi Tianxin. Perhaps it was from the soothing effect of the warm towel, but Grandma finally woke up after being unconscious for almost 4 hours. Tianxin? Grandma, you're awake. Do you hurt anywhere? Grandma shook her head, no. Yi Tianxin walked to the foot of the bed and slowly cranked the handle to elevate the end her grandmother was lying on, enabling her grandmother to sit up. She then poured her grandmother a cup of warm, honeyed water. Grandma, drink some honeyed water first. Grandma took the cup from her and took a sip of the honeyed water. Then, she looked closely at Yi Tianxin and noticed her red, swollen eyes and the tear streaks still visible on her cheeks. She must have been crying. Grandma silently let out a long, deep sigh. She was 80 to 90% sure that her illness was serious. Why else had she collapsed twice within such a short span of time? When the doctor had told her that it was nothing serious, he must have been lying to her. At her age, she wasn't afraid of dying if she were seriously ill. However, she worried about Tianxin. What would she do? Tianxin was about to sit for the college entrance exams. What would happen if she got distracted because of her illness and didn't do well? Also, if she died soon, how would Tianxin cope going forward? She couldn't possibly rely on Lu Jijuan, because if he really intended to bring Tianxin back into the Lu family, he would have shown Grandma his sincerity a long time ago. However, throughout the years, what else had he done besides send them money every month? Furthermore, she could tell from just one glance that Lu Jijuan's daughter definitely wasn't someone to be messed with. If she did let Tianxin leave with Lu Jijuan, it was very likely that
Tianxin would be disadvantaged.
Grandma wasn't afraid of dying. Grandma was just worried that Tianxin would become an orphan after she died. Left all alone in this world, how would she survive on her own? Tianxin, please be honest with Grandma. Is my condition very serious? Yi Tianxin shook her head and replied, No, Grandma. Your blood sugars are low, and your blood pressure is a little on the low side too. But everything else is normal, really. Tianxin, what do you think of that Uncle Lu that we met earlier? Yi Tianxin knew what her grandmother was thinking. Grandma was probably taking this chance to take care of some unfinished business before she died. Grandma, it doesn't matter how good he is.
He's still someone else's father.
I don't like him. And I dislike his daughter even more. Grandma, I want to stay with you.
You don't need to worry about me.
I'll be 18 and an adult soon. I'm capable of looking after myself. Her grandmother didn't say anything more and quietly drank her honeyed water. She slipped her hand into her pockets, and her fingers brushed against a stiff card. In actual fact, through all these years, she'd always had Lu Jijuan's phone number. But she had never called him. Because of her pride, she'd wanted to show him that she was totally capable of raising her granddaughter on her own without depending on him. From her perspective, Lu Jijuan was fully at fault for what had happened to her daughter Linling. No, she would never hand over her own granddaughter to Lu Jijuan. But if her condition deteriorated, then what was Tianxin to do? Grandma, stop thinking nonsense. Oh, yes, let's eat. Okay. Grandma decided not to think about it for now. She was incredibly reluctant to hand her granddaughter over to Lu Jijuan. She would think about it again another time. There had to be a way to avoid this. After grandmother and granddaughter had dinner, Yi Tianxin sat by her grandmother's bed and, holding her hand, said softly, "Grandma, please pass on your embroidery techniques to me. I've always thought that your embroidery is really beautiful." Embroidery? Whatever for. In the future, my Tianxin should just buy whatever she likes. Yi Tianxin held onto her grandmother's hands. It was this pair of hard-working hands that had painstakingly raised her from a babbling infant into the young woman that she was today. "Grandma, I just want to pick it up. Please teach me already." Her grandmother gave it some thought before compromising. "Just focus on your exams for now. I'll teach you after the exams." Okay, Yi Tianxin agreed in a heartbeat. The only occupants in the three-person ward were Yi Tianxin and her grandmother, who could be heard quietly chatting away inside. The doctors and nurses who walked past the ward and heard the pair talking all felt that there was such wonderful bond between Grandma and her granddaughter. "Grandma, please wait here for me at the hospital while I go home to tell Auntie Du what happened. We've been out since early morning and haven't gone back yet. Auntie Du's probably worried." Yi Tianxin felt that since Auntie Du had kindly let them stay at her place, the least they could do, as a matter of courtesy, was inform her that they planned to stay out for the night. "That's right, Tianxin. You're very thoughtful. Let's do that. Take a cab home and let Auntie Du know."
Don't worry about me.
"I'll wait here at the hospital and won't wander about. Grandma, just watch some TV. I'll bring us a change of clothes and my practice books." Yi Tianxin was reluctant to leave her grandmother on her own at the hospital, but she really needed to go home, and, since she didn't have a phone, she had no way of keeping Auntie Du informed about what was going on. After Yi Tianxin left, Grandma retrieved Lu Jijuan's business card and looked at it a few times. She was illiterate and didn't know how to make a phone call, so she had to take the business card to the nurse's station. "Young lady, can I please trouble you to contact the person on this business card and tell him that I'm at the hospital?" The nurse took one look at Grandma and knew that the old lady was illiterate. Happy to help, she dialed Lu Jijuan's number and passed the handset to Grandma. "This is Lu Jijuan. Who is this, please?" "Lu Jijuan, this is Tianxin's grandmother. I'm at the hospital. Can you stop by, please?" Lu Jijuan was in the middle of having dinner with Lu Qingxin and Gu Yancheng when Grandma called him. But after he spoke with her, he got into his car and quickly drove to the hospital. He walked into the ward and immediately noticed the name tag and the prognosis on the medical chart at the foot of the bed. He then realized what was going on and was prepared for what was to follow. "Auntie, why are you on your own in the hospital? Where's Tianxin?" Grandma looked at Lu Jijuan. Truth be told, she was extremely reluctant to hand Tianxin over to him. But she was very sick and didn't want to become a burden to Tianxin. After all, Lu Jijuan was Tianxin's father. Wasn't it natural and right for a father to take care of his own daughter? "Jijuan, come with me to speak with the doctor." A hint of reluctance flashed in Lu Jijuan's eyes, as he didn't want Grandma to know the truth about her illness. However, he responded, "Yes, let's go." They went to the doctor's office. Noticing Lu Jijuan, the doctor presumed that he was Grandma's son. His voice chilly with disapproval, the doctor said, "What kind of a son are you? Your mother's critically ill, and yet you." Grandma interrupted the doctor's rant. "Doctor, can you please tell me how much time I have left?" Lu Jijuan and Grandma listened intently for the answer. "Old lady, this illness of yours isn't serious. Just try to relax. When your mood improves, you'll feel happier, and then you'll live for a very, very long time to come." Deep down, Grandma knew that her illness must be serious if the doctor wasn't willing to tell her the truth. She pretended that she'd already found out about her condition and proceeded to put on an act. "Doctor, please don't lie to me. The doctor in our town told me that I only have 1 month left to live." The doctor kept quiet for a moment before replying, "Old lady, the doctor from your town must be incompetent. How could you only have 1 month left to live? All you have to do is relax, and you'll live for many more years. You just have to let go of your worries." Lu Jijuan joined the doctor in consoling her. "That's right.
Try not to dwell on it."
Doctor, do you think I at least have 3 months left? My granddaughter is sitting for the college entrance exams in less than 3 months. I don't want my illness to affect her exams in any way." Grandma knew that if she left this world before the entrance exams, Tianxin's exam results would definitely be affected. And the entrance exams were extremely important because they could shape Tianxin's future. "Old lady, that shouldn't be a problem as long as you cooperate and work closely with us on your treatment." From Grandma's perspective, everything the doctor said sounded like a lie. Exasperatedly, she said, "Doctor, I'm a patient, and I have the right to know about my condition. Please be honest and tell me the truth. Look, my son is also here. Please tell us. Yes, doctor. Please tell us. Since Lu Jijuan also asked him to speak the truth, the doctor could do nothing else but explain Grandma's condition in detail. The doctor didn't exaggerate the seriousness of Grandma's condition. Instead, he spoke plainly and in detail about her illness, including some of its features and some symptoms to look out for in the later stages. When all was said and done, Lu Jijuan thanked the doctor and helped Grandma out of the doctor's office. When they reached the door, Grandma suddenly blacked out. She reached out and wildly groped for Lu Jijuan's shoulder, tears streaming down her world-weary face. In the past, she'd always assumed that she'd live to see Tianxin graduate from university, find a good job, and start a family. Then, once Tianxin had built a life for herself, she'd be able to die without any regrets. But she'd never expected that the Grim Reaper would be so cruel to her. Soon, she would be dead. If she didn't undergo chemical treatment right away, she would probably die before the end of the month. She didn't want to die. If she died now, what would happen to Tianxin? Would Lu Jijuan treat Tianxin well? Would Lu Jijuan's family welcome her and treat her well? Auntie, please take a seat here and rest a while. Grandma shook her head. Take me to the garden. I want to take a stroll. They walked to the garden. Grandma refused Lu Jijuan's help and walked ahead on her own at a slow pace. She felt as if a huge, heavy boulder weighing on her heart. She wanted to say something, but she didn't know what to say. Lu Jijuan didn't say anything either. He just followed behind her, staying close to her side. He watched as Grandma kept walking aimlessly onward with no destination or endpoint in mind, as if she were just going to keep walking forever. Her thin figure cast an elongated shadow on the ground under the light from the street lamps. Lu Jijuan walked over to Grandma's side and supported her by the arm. He said quietly, Auntie, please send Tianxin to me. Tianxin didn't bother trying to save money. She hailed a cab to take her back to the bookshop. The door to the bookshop was still open, so she pushed it, causing the windshield behind the wooden door clang melodiously. Duan looked up from her notebook computer. Removing her glasses from the bridge of her nose, she looked toward Tianxin. Tianxin, why have you come back on your own? Where is your grandmother? Tianxin pulled up a chair and sat beside Duan. After staying silent for a while, she said, Annie Du, my grandmother is sick. She's been hospitalized. I came back to tell you this and to pack a change of clothes. Is it serious?
Duan asked softly. Tianxin nodded. Yes.
It's cancer. The doctor said that it's spread to her lungs. Do you have the money to get her treated?
Duan asked.
These days, being hospitalized was the same as pouring money down a drain. It was a bottomless pit with no end in sight. I've raised some funds in the meantime. I really want to have Grandma treated, so if the money I've saved isn't enough, I'll have to think of another way to raise the funds. Actually, Tianxin had been thinking that perhaps she should take the 50,000 in the bank and play the stock market. But because of the state the stock market was in, she was really apprehensive to play the stock market. However, if she really didn't have any other option left, she'd have to resort to this method to raise the needed funds. Tianxin, do you remember Uncle Jean who came to dinner that night? The great director Tianxin? What about him? I remember. Duan had originally planned to talk to her about this at a later time. But now that her grandmother had fallen ill, Tianxin would probably hurriedly try to raise money for her treatment, and she'd seen too many girls who'd fallen down dark paths of no return because they had urgently needed money. Tianxin was a decent girl. Duan didn't want her to end up like those poor girls. Uncle Jean and I are planning to produce a movie, and we'd like you to be the female lead. Tianxin, as the female lead, we'd pay you. Since you're a newbie, your pay wouldn't be that high, but I think it'd be enough to pay for your grandmother's treatment. What do you think? Tianxin's movie? Didn't this mean that if she starred in this movie, she'd go on to become a golden girl? But I haven't taken any professional acting classes. Wouldn't I ruin the movie? But anyway, she looked at it. If she could act in one of Tianxin's movies, it would be a good thing for her. Realistically speaking, Tianxin couldn't think of any reason to decline the offer. You don't need to worry about that. What concerns me is whether you'd be able to carve out the time to make this movie. We've already started preparations for it, and we'll most likely start filming in early June. During that time, you'd be sitting for your exams and being a caregiver to your sick grandmother. Would you be able to handle all those responsibilities? Furthermore, the university that you're aiming for is Capital University.
Tianxin clenched her fists.
She was determined to take all of this on. Grandma's illness would be treated, and she would act in Tianxin's movie. As for Capital University, she'd make the grade and get accepted. I can do this. Tianxin clenched her fists, her eyes shining with the steely determination to become a golden girl. That, in itself, would be a unique experience for her. She would treasure every moment of it. She would make the most out of every second of this rare, golden opportunity.
Good.
During this time, you should focus on caring for your grandmother and prepping for the exams. Find some time to come back here tomorrow to sign your contract. Once the contract's signed, I can pay you. That way, you'll have the money to pay for your grandmother's treatment. Tianxin was very, very touched. It felt great to be alive. Everyone she met was a good, kind person. Li Qingsong was one of them. The lady boss at the noodle shop was another. And so was Auntie Du. Thank you so much. Auntie Du really are the lucky star in my life. Duan reached out and ruffled Tianxin's lovely hair and said, You're like my daughter. If my daughter were still alive, she'd be about your age right now. Unfortunately, my daughter died at a very young age. Auntie Du, let me call you my godmother. Yi Tianxin lifted her small face and said softly, I grew up without a mother. My grandma was the one who raised me with great difficulty. My grandma is very good to me, but because I don't have a mother, all the other kids in my hometown tease me for being motherless. I wish I was like them and had a mother who picks me up from school and loves me and cares for me. But I don't. I don't have a mother. I don't have a father. I only have grandma.
Du Rouen rapide Y Tianxin Inawar m'embrasse.
My dear daughter, as long as you're willing to accept me, I will gladly be your mother.
Manga.
Yi Tianxin had called her mama. That one word, that very ordinary word, made Du-won burst into tears. She hadn't heard that word for such a very long time. Sigh. Du-won wanted to let Grandma know that Tianxin had acknowledged her as her godmother, so she drove to the hospital with Tianxin. However, when they walked into the ward, they discovered that it was empty and that Grandma was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, Yi Tianxin felt incredibly uneasy. Du-won was also puzzled. Logically speaking, Grandma was neither familiar with Capital City, nor was she acquainted with anyone who lived there, so she couldn't possibly have wandered off on her own. Could the doctor have called for Grandma? Prompted by Du-won's question, Yi Tianxin remembered the doctor. Together with Du-won, she headed for the doctor's office. The doctor told Yi Tianxin all about his visit from Lu Jijuan and her grandmother. Yi Tianxin instantly felt relieved. Earlier, when she had found her grandmother missing, she had thought for a moment that Grandma, not wishing to be a burden to her, had done something reckless. Now, knowing that her grandmother was probably with Lu Jijuan, she heaved a sigh of relief. Mama, it's late. You should head home first. I will stay here and wait for Grandma. I'll wait here with you, Du-won replied. As usual, Du-won was dressed in a qipao. She seemed to have a liking for kipeos. As far as Yi Tianxin was concerned, she had never seen Du-won in anything but a qipao. Regardless of the time of day or occasion, she was always in a qipao. With her immaculate makeup and her qipao, which accentuated her curves, Du-won always presented a perfect picture of elegance and calm. Not wanting to get Du-won involved in their complicated relationship with Lu Jijuan, Yi Tianxin said, Mama, that won't be necessary. He's probably going to bring Grandma back soon. Because Yi Tianxin was so insistent, Du-won decided to leave. Clutching her bag, she walked out of the ward. After Du-won left, Yi Tianxin walked over to the window and stared out into the dark night, feeling flustered. Her grandmother had found out about how serious her illness really was. So, what was her grandmother planning? Would she agree to let Lu Jijuan take her away? No, she wouldn't go to the Lu family. Also, she definitely didn't want to have anything to do with either Lu Qinxin or Gu Yanqing ever again. Although Yi Tianxin felt incredibly anxious over where her grandmother had gone, there was nothing she could do about it. She had already torn Lu Jijuan's business card into shreds, so she couldn't call him for help even if she wanted to. She decided that, instead of aimlessly waiting around, she would revise her senior high lessons. Lu Jijuan would probably bring Grandma back to the ward soon. As a third-year high school student faced with the upcoming entrance exams, she was under immense pressure. Also, she had made that bet with Yi Yuran, and there was no way she was going to let her win. Yi Tianxin sat by the bed and started working on her practice questions, her pencil making scratching sounds as she wrote down her answers. When she was reborn, these questions had seemed like Greek to her. But now, having gone through a long period of constant practicing, she could confidently write down the answer to each question, learn from her mistakes, and reinforce her learning. Yi Tianxin resolved to visit the bookshop one day to search for more exam practice workbooks. She needed a lot more practice. It was now past midnight, and there was still no sign of Grandma. By this point, Yi Tianxin had grown increasingly nervous and fidgety. What on earth were Grandma and Lu Jijuan discussing? Did that Lu Jijuan even realize that her grandmother was a patient? Why did he have to do this? Yi Tianxin stood at the elevator lobby. When she saw the elevator light flash when the elevator arrived at her floor, she rushed to the elevator doors. Grandma, she started to say. The elevator doors opened, and standing inside wasn't her grandmother, but Li Qingsong. He was wearing a white shirt, and his hair was a tad messy, and there was a bag of takeout in his hands. Tianxin, what are you doing in the elevator lobby at this late hour? Yi Tianxin's eyes turned slightly red as she replied, I'm waiting for my grandmother. I went back to our temporary accommodations for a brief visit, and when I came back here, Grandma was nowhere to be found. I'm a little worried about her. Why didn't you tell me as soon as you realized that your grandmother was missing? Li Qingsong immediately grabbed Yi Tianxin's wrist and pulled her into the elevator. Confined inside the tiny space inside the elevator, all Li Qingsong could hear was the violent pounding of his own heart. After some hesitation, he awkwardly released Yi Tianxin's wrist and held up his other hand to show her the takeout that he'd been holding. Someone sent me this supper and I wanted to give it to you and your grandmother. It's congee from a traditional shop that's been in business for a long time. It's really very tasty. Yi Tianxin stood to one side. From her height, she could clearly see Li Qingsong's side profile. His eyes were especially enchanting. When she looked into his eyes, Yi Tianxin felt as though she were looking into a tranquil lake, and she gradually felt calm and at peace. I don't feel like eating right now. I'm worried about Grandma. Lowering his hand, Li Qingsong cocked his head to the side and reassured her. Don't worry. I can help you find your grandmother. Thank you. Faced with this situation, all Yi Tianxin could say was thank you, even though she, of all people, knew very well how hollow her thank you sounded. I'll get help from my brother-in-law's uncle. He'll be able to help us find her. Wait here for me. I'll drive you there. After hesitating for a moment, Yi Tianxin asked, but it's already so late. Is it okay to trouble him? No trouble at all. This uncle is a very nice person. Li Qingsong led Yi Tianxin to the main gates of the hospital. Before he walked out of the hospital, he handed the bag of supper to the hospital's security guards. Driver, take us to Lang Garden. Not long after Li Qingsong and Yi Tianxin had boarded the car, she noticed Lu Jijuan carrying grandma on piggyback at the cross junction. Yi Tianxin immediately told the driver to stop the car and, before the car had even come to a complete stop, she opened the door and raced over to her. Li Qingsong shouted for her to slow down and threw some dollar bills at the driver before following closely behind her. Lu Jijuan was already exhausted by this point. He'd never expected an elderly person to be able to walk for so long. She had practically walked across half of capital city. Grandma? Seeing that it was Yi Tianxin who stood in his way, Lu Jijuan, looking awkward, said, Tianxin, you're back. Yi Tianxin stubbornly insisted that he hand grandma over to her, but Lu Jijuan adamantly refused. Standing beneath the street lamp, he said, Stop this nonsense, Tianxin. You wouldn't be able to carry her weight. I can carry her. Please hand her over to me. Li Qingsong told Lu Jijuan in an emotionless voice. Lu Jijuan looked at the young man standing in front of him. He was tall and refined. He could tell that this young man was from a well-to-do family just by his temperament. Forget it. Let him do it. You're a patient. Don't aggravate your injury. Li Qingsong had clearly sensed that Yi Tianxin didn't like Lu Jijuan. He responded, It's all right.
I'm practically healed.
By that point, Lu Jijuan was truly exhausted and no longer inclined to resist. He couldn't hold on any longer. His legs were shaking so badly that he felt like he was going to collapse into a heap on the ground at any moment. As he carried grandma on his back, Li Qingsong realized for the first time how thin and light an elderly person could be. Grandma was so light that Li Qingsong was afraid to look Yi Tianxin in the eyes. They walked in a single file and returned to the ward. The doctor immediately came by to examine grandma and made sure that she was all right before leaving them. At that time, Lu Jijuan was sitting on one of the beds, scrutinizing Li Qingsong, who was standing silently to the side. Tianxin, you're still young. You definitely shouldn't get romantically involved at your young age. Especially not with a princeling from a traditional well-to-do family. Definitely not. At his words, Yi Tianxin laughed cynically and asked, Who do you think you are? That's my business, and you have no right to interfere. Lu Jijuan was somewhat vexed with Tianxin as he looked at her. Tianxin, I'm your father. No, you're not my father. You are Lu Qingxin's father. The thought of accepting you as my father had never crossed my mind. In the future, please do not come to see my grandmother and me ever again. We don't need your hypocritical and abject sympathy. Lu Jijuan heaved a deep and sorrowful sigh. It was no wonder that Yi Tianxin treated him like a stranger. She knew all that had happened in the past. Even so, he couldn't stand by idly and helplessly watch Yi Tianxin get close to a man born into a wealthy, aristocratic family. He feared that her entire life would be ruined. Tianxin, I know. I was once a void in your life. But from now on... Yi Tianxin cut Lu Jijuan off, mid-speech. I do not need that. I beg you. Please don't ever see my grandmother again. I don't know what my grandmother has told you, but it's impossible for me to stay with you. I'm almost 18 years old. I'm an adult. I am sure of the decisions I make for myself. I don't need you. I didn't need you before, and I won't need you in the future either. Tianxin, what a child you are. How can you be so stubborn? Your grandmother is so sick. Don't you need money to see a doctor? Your grandmother is stubborn. Do you want to be like her and be equally stubborn? Don't you want your grandmother to get better? I have the money for your grandmother's treatment. There's no need for you to trouble yourself with the other matters too. You need to put your mind at ease and focus on preparing for the college entrance exams. No need. I have the money. Had the circumstance not changed, Yi Tianxin might have reacted differently. If she hadn't had the money, she might have lowered her voice to a whisper. She might have humbly begged for Lu Jijuan's help to treat her grandmother's illness. Now she could justifiably and boldly stand up to Lu Jijuan. She could tell him with righteous indignation that he need not bother himself at all. She and her grandmother don't need his handout. She had the money. Yi Tianxin knew within her heart that, as a newcomer, she could not expect high pay for her role in the movie. But she felt confident that she wouldn't have any problems paying for her grandmother's medical expenses. You have the money? Where are you going to find the money? Tianxin, I am your father. I will not harm you. If you don't want your own father's money, whose money do you want? His? Or do you want to sell yourself like those girls? Hearing the last bit was too much for Li Qingsong. Infuriated, Li Qingsong strode over to Lu Jijuan with his long legs. Without saying a word, Li Qingsong lifted Lu Jijuan by his collar and threw him out of the patient's ward. He then locked the door from the inside. It all happened so quickly for a stunned Lu Jijuan. He looked bewildered and helpless. He had not offered any resistance, nor did he put up a struggle. A dejected Lu Jijuan stood outside the door of the patient's ward. He sighed long and hard before striding away. As he walked away, Lu Jijuan took stock of what had transpired. He came to one conclusion. Tianxin would change her mind. She will surely change her mind. Tianxin, don't get upset. I will lend you the money for your grandmother's illness. We will get her treated ourselves. Yi Tianxin took comfort in Li Qingsong's words, but, shaking her head, she declined. Thank you for the kind thought, but there is no need for you to help me for the time being. I have promised Mother Du that I will take on the part in the movie. I will get paid for the movie, and I will have the money to treat my grandmother.
Li Qingsong frowned.
Within his circle, the general opinion was that anyone appearing in movies and TV serials is an actor or an actress. Don't act in the movie. The entertainment industry is a seriously messy business. Firstly, you have no background. Secondly, you have no power. Others would bully you if you set foot in there. Li Qingsong believed that the people engaged in the entertainment industry were all snobbish. Yi Tianxin was a naive and innocent little girl. She might not even realize it if she fell prey to someone with ill intent, and that was how she got her income. Yi Tianxin eased Li Qingsong's concern with a sweet smile. I'm going to play a role in this movie only. Besides, it's Mother Duan's movie. I'm sure no one will bully me. I'm just worried that... What are you worried about? The college entrance exams. Yi Tianxin waved the pages of practice questions that she had to prepare for. I'm worried about the results of the college entrance exams. I am worried that I might not be able to make it into Capital University when the time comes. The question papers were bound as a book. Li Qingsong took the book from Yi Tianxin and flipped through the pages. He randomly chose a page and pointed to a question. You got the answer to this question wrong. Yi Tianxin had another look at the question. Yi Tianxin routinely tries to solve the problem first before counter-checking the answer at the back of the book. She had answered that particular question while waiting for her grandmother to come home. She hadn't yet had time to check the answer. Li Qingsong saw the blank look on Yi Tianxin's face. It was quite clear Yi Tianxin was oblivious to her mistake. Li Qingsong took out a piece of paper, wrote down the question, and went through it with Yi Tianxin. Do you see that the answers are entirely different? Yi Tianxin was starstruck. Her eyes gave away her admiration. Brotherly, you're so amazing. You just glanced at it, and you could see that I had made a mistake. Li Qingsong was secretly pleased with himself. He remained cavalier even as his eyelashes kept blinking. I graduated from Capital University with a PhD in physics. You have got to be kidding me, right? What Li Qingsong revealed to Yi Tianxin shocked her to the core. The views and values that she had attached to the world and life were not as she had imagined. Capital University, Physics Department, PhD. The three titles mesmerized Yi Tianxin. But aren't you? Li Qingsong's eyes twinkled in delight. Since my childhood days, I had always dreamed of going on a space flight. But, because of my unique blood type, my family never allowed me to go on such a dangerous journey. After I graduated, I stayed back at Capital University and became a people's teacher. I had hoped to nurture more outstanding students in the future. I wanted to contribute what little I can to help our aerospace industry. Brotherly, you are truly awesome. Well, if there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. It's getting late. I'll head home and get some rest. You should rest early too. Yi Tianxin nodded her head. After learning that Li Qingsong was a teacher and was once a top student, Yi Tianxin began to see him as an idol. The physics department indeed. Only a person with an extraordinary IQ could make it into that department. Yi Tianxin walked Li Qingsong to the elevator. He held up the book containing the practice questions in his hand. I will take this back and correct it for you. I will tell you more about it in detail when the time comes. The night breeze was slightly chilly. Yi Tianxin returned to the ward alone. Despite the chilly breeze, she felt warm inside. Yi Tianxin made a resolution. She did not wish to be involved with Lu Qingxin at all costs in this lifetime. The Lu family, the Gu family, she didn't want to have anything to do with them anymore. Not even the slightest. At dawn the next day, when the first ray of daylight emerged as the sun shone through the clouds, a nurse came to draw her grandmother's blood for a test. The hospital canteen had prepared a delicious and nutritious breakfast for Yi Tianxin and her grandmother. Grandmother and granddaughter were having their breakfast when Lu Qingxin and Gu Yanqing came to see them. Lu Qingxin was clutching a bouquet in her arms. Gu Yanqing carried some fruits in his hands. The two of them wore clothes of matching color. They were a picture of a young, lovely couple. Grandmother, Tianxin. Tianxin put down the chopsticks and bowl. She glared at Lu Qingxin and Gu Yanqing. What are the two of you doing here? She asked coldly. Last night, when Dad came home, he said your grandmother was in the hospital. I came to see her with Brother Yanqing. Lu Qingxin placed the flowers on the cabinet beside the headboard of the bed. Grandmother, I hope you will recover soon. Gu Yanqing handed the fruits to Yi Tianxin. This is just a little gift to express our concern. Just accept it. No need. Miss Lu, Mr. Gu, please take your things back with you. Your kindness is well received. Grandmother, and I appreciate it. Yi Tianxin did not hide what she thought of the gesture. Lu Qingxin, her eyes slightly red, asked, Sister, you hate father, don't you? Lu Qingxin's words chilled the air in the hospital ward. With an aching heart, Gu Yanqing walked over to Lu Qingxin and stood behind her. He placed his hand on her shoulder. Qingxin, what do you mean? Lu Qingxin's eyes glistened with traces of tears. She looked extremely sad for all to see. Sister, I know all about it. You hate father, don't you? But in all these years, father has always missed you. Yi Tianxin didn't know how to respond to Lu Qingxin. She marveled at Lu Qingxin's acting skills. It seemed like Lu Qingxin could summon tears at her will. She had created a scene to give the impression that Tianxin had bullied her. Miss Lu, I don't understand. What do you mean? Yi Tianxin said, giving her grandmother a reassuring look. Grandmother, everything's fine, she whispered, soothing her grandmother's anxiety. Grandmother looked back with some feelings of regret. She shouldn't have called Lu Jijuan. Even if she faced death, she shouldn't have anything more to do with Lu Jijuan. Sister, I know. You have resented father for not caring for you and for not paying any attention to you all these years. Lu Qingxin's voice sounded like she was crying. Her acting was unquestionably incredible. Gu Yanqing's heart ached when he saw Lu Qingxin's reaction. His mind went on overdrive, trying to make sense of what was happening. It took him but a short moment to figure out the relationship between Yi Tianxin and Lu Jijuan. Qingxin. Lu Qingxin looked at Gu Yanqing with tears in her eyes. Brother Yanqing, father came home drunk last night. He kept mumbling the name Lin Lang to himself. Sister, Lin Lang is your mother's name, right? Father said that the one woman he was utmost sorry for in his lifetime was your mother. Gu Yanqing held Lu Qingxin by her shoulder to lend her support. The handsome man's brows furrowed. His eyes were full of pain. Qingxin, uncle doesn't know about your coming here, right? Brother Yanqing, I don't want my father to feel so terrible. In his heart, he had always missed Auntie Lin Lang and sister. Father had always wanted sister to live with us. More so now that grandmother is sick and my sister is still a third-year senior in high school. Gu Yanqing thought that Lu Qingxin was being too kind. Did she even consider how her mother would feel about what she was doing? What about Auntie? How would she feel if she knew that uncle had an illegitimate grown-up daughter? Lu Qingxin broke down in tears when she heard what Gu Yanqing said. Like a delicate flower, she collapsed into Gu Yanqing's arms. Mother will be devastated, her cherry lips murmured. But she will understand, father. Brother Yanqing, you will come with me to convince my mother, won't you?
Ye Tianjin clenched her fists tightly.
How she wished she could hurl and smash the bowls. What the hell was Lu Qingxin up to? When did she say she was going to acknowledge that she was part of the Lu family? I will, Qingxin. Don't be sad. Auntie will understand too. Lu Qingxin cursed in her heart. Understand? Fat chance of that. Though Lu Qingxin's mother looked sweet, she had a bitter heart. She was capable of putting a spoke in someone's wheel. She would do everything she could to make things go awry. Her victims would be left hapless. They wouldn't even have the chance to voice their grievances. Lu Qingxin and her mother were cut from the same cloth in that respect. Beyond that, what woman would accept her husband's indiscretion? They had been married for so many years. How could her husband suddenly have an illegitimate daughter? More so, one who was older than their natural daughter? What is this supposed to be? Lu Qingxin, I spoke to your father about this matter yesterday. Now, I will make it clear again. Yi Tianxin, will not acknowledge him, nor do I need him. We were strangers before, and we will remain strangers in the future. Do you understand what I mean? Lu Qingxin's eyelashes were wet with tears. Sister, you're unwilling to acknowledge father. It must be because you resent him and hate him, right? You hate father. You hate him for breaking your heart. You hate him for not caring about you and for not paying any attention to you all these years. But sister, he's my father. He is heartbroken and sad. And he is going through tough times. I wish I could relieve him of some of that pain. Sister, come home with us. I will persuade mother. I will convince her to love you as a daughter. I will treat you as my kindly sister. Yi Tianxin was once young and ignorant. She was once vain and materialistic. But that was all in a different period. The present Yi Tianxin knows this better than anyone else. Rather than pin her hopes on others, she should start life anew, all by herself. She has now reinvented herself. She is a better person. Why make life difficult for herself? Why should she choose to be such a scheming B***th like Lu Qingxin? Lu Qingxin's perceived sisterly love is, without a doubt, artificial. What's true of her nature is that she will backstab anyone in the dark. It is pointless to take precautionary measures to ward off her attacks. In the end, they would all prove to be fruitless. No need. I don't need a father. I don't need a mother. I don't need a younger sister. Please, both of you, just leave and don't disturb grandmother. If you still don't leave, I will have to call the police and report you two for disturbing other people. Lu Qingxin looked up from Gu Yanqing's arm's embrace. Sister, what exactly do you want us to do? What would it take for you to forgive father? I don't hate him, so there isn't such a thing as forgiveness. Leave. That's all I ask of you. Thank you for your cooperation. Yi Tianxin shoved the bouquet that Lu Qingxin brought for grandmother and Gu Yanqing's fruits into his arms. Gu Yanqing didn't take too kindly to the way Yi Tianxin treated the two of them. He thought she was being disrespectful and had little regard for others. Qingxin had already taken such a big step back for Uncle Lu. How could Yi Tianxin behave this way? Yi Tianxin, are you? Gu Yanqing pointed his hand at Yi Tianxin's face. As far as he was concerned, anyone who bullied Lu Qingxin was scum. Li Qingsong was standing in the doorway. Tall and imposing, he looked even more handsome and elegant in the light of dawn. A halo seemed to hang between his well-defined brows. It was quite the scene. Li Qingsong wore a white sweater, and it had an image of a cute cartoon panda on the front. He was quite an adorable sight, minus the somewhat silly appearance. He wore an ordinary pair of jeans, but on him, it looked distinctively different. He looked like a model on a poster. Li Qingsong grew upset when he saw Gu Yanqing pointing his finger at Yi Tianxin. He took 2 steps forward in his white shoes and stood in front of Gu Yanqing. Just by a slight force of his grip, Li Qingsong dislocated Gu Yanqing's arm in a split second. Didn't anyone back at home ever taught you that you can't point your finger at anyone? Gu Yanqing felt as though his arm was loaded with lead. It was so heavy. Hot searing pain rushed through his arm. The pain on the handsome man's face soon turned to anger. No one had ever dared to treat him this way before. Brother Yanqing, are you all right? Out of concern, Lu Qingqing called out to Gu Yanqing, but she wasn't looking at him. She was looking at Li Qingsong, standing beside Yi Tianxin. Her mind held only one thought. This man was incredibly handsome. He should be her future husband.
Tianxin, I'm Phoenix.
Gu Yanqing didn't wish to alarm Lu Qingqing. He had stood still on the spot and didn't utter a word before Lu Qingqing called out. Li Qingsong tore his eyes away from Gu Yanqing. His manner was indifferent. He turned to Yi Tianxin and said, I'll get the hospital to move you and grandmother to another ward. Sister, is he your boyfriend? Lu Qingxin asked with great anticipation. Was he? Lu Qingxin wondered quietly. It cannot be so. Yi Tianxin was a country bumpkin. How could she possibly have such an elegant, refined, handsome boyfriend? Yi Tianxin caught sight of the glint in Lu Qingxin's eyes. In an instant, she understood what was going through Lu Qingxin's mind. What business is it of yours? Don't call me sister. Hearing the word sister from your mouth makes me so disgusted. I might even develop a physical aversion for it. Once upon a time, Lu Qingxin had called her elder sister in the same way, and she foolishly believed that Lu Qingxin was her younger sister. But what happened in the end? On the night of Lu Qingxin and Gu Yanqing's engagement banquet, a most baffling situation occurred. Gu Yanqing and Lu Qingxin's sister were involved with each other, an illicit affair. Quietly enduring all the pain and agony, Lu Qingxin pushed Gu Yanqing to her sister. At that time, in her heart, all she could feel was endless guilt of what she had done to Lu Qingxin. She did her best to comply with all of Lu Qingxin's demands. She put up with all the times when Lu Qingxin simply appeared before Gu Yanqing anytime she pleased, cloyingly calling him Brother Yanqing. At that time she did not understand, but now she did. Lu Qingxin was never in love with Gu Yanqing. To Lu Qingxin, Gu Yanqing was just a man who was nothing more than a spare that she might have a use for in the future. If Lu Qingxin found a man she loved deeply, Gu Yanqing would be a burden to her. She was unwilling to be the one to initiate breaking off the engagement. Instead, she used Tianxin, put her on the front line as a pawn and as a shield. It was only when she, Lu Qingxin, got herself all bruised and battered by other men that she came to realize what a good man Gu Yanqing was. After understanding everything, she, Yi Tianxin, became Lu Qingxin's confidant. Sister? Lu Qingxin was crying so bad. In front of Li Qingsong, she cried hard that she couldn't utter a word. Tears ran down her fair face as she looked at Li Qingsong with red eyes. Gu Yanqing saw the situation and jumped to Lu Qingxin's defense right away. Yi Tianxin, you're just like your mother. Both of you are experts in exploiting your beauty. What was going on between Yi Linlang and Lu Jijuan in the first place? Yi Tianxin herself was clueless about it. But this did not mean that Yi Tianxin would just take Gu Yanqing's insult quietly. She walked up to Gu Yanqing, raised her arm, and slapped Gu Yanqing's handsome face. Get lost. Yi Tianxin felt that this was all ridiculous, totally absurd. She had once, only once, fallen in love with Gu Yanqing. Even if she was afraid that Gu Yanqing might be verbally violent against her, she would still endure everything. Even if she and Gu Yanqing got involved in an illicit affair in the past and, thereafter, connected by an estranged marriage, she would still take everything upon herself. She did not blame Gu Yanqing. She acknowledged her mistake and was remorseful. She admitted to robbing Lu Qingxin and Gu Yanqing of what could have been a blissful and happy future. She also hoped that in the future, when she had matured, Gu Yanqing would see her merits. It was only after everything that had happened did Yi Tianxin finally understood that in this love triangle her, Gu Yanqing, and Lu Qingxin she had always been the ultimate loser. Even if she was hit by a car and her body was badly injured, the person that Gu Yanqing would hold in his arms would still be Lu Qingxin, and not her. Sister, why did you do that? How could you? Lu Qingxin exclaimed, then turned to Gu Yanqing. Brother Yanqing, does it hurt? In Li Qingsong's life, he had only shown patience to two women. One was Mother Li, and the other was Li Xingchen. And now there was Yi Tianxin. While Lu Qingxin was concerned about whether Gu Yanqing's face hurt or not, Li Qingsong was only worried if Yi Tianxin's hand hurt from hitting someone else. Tianxin, I hope your hand doesn't hurt. It must have been painful to hit a face so thick like that. Lu Qingxin heard what Li Qingsong said and felt bad for Gu Yanqing. In her sweet voice she spoke again. Brother Yanqing, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I should not have let you follow me here. It's all because of me that you are being. At this point, Gu Yanqing's heart was filled with happiness and gratitude. Fortunately, he came. If he did not come, could a delicate, rich, and beautiful lady like Lu Qingxin actually be able to deal with such an unreasonable country girl? Qingxin, Brother Yanqing. Li Qingsong did not really want to see any unrelated people around. He grabbed Gu Yanqing's collar, then threw him out of the hospital ward as though he was weightless. The moment Lu Qingxin saw Gu Yanqing being thrown out, she hurriedly ran after him. Brother Yanqing, are you hurt? When the two of them were out of the hospital room, Li Qingsong slammed the door shut. Then he heaved a sigh of relief and returned to Yi Tianxin's side. Grandmother, this is Li Qingsong. He is the older brother that I saved through blood transfusion at the town clinic the other day. As soon as grandmother saw how tall and imposing Li Qingsong was, and with such excellent disposition, she immediately thought of him as her future grandson-in-law. Grandmother pondered in silence for a while. Li Qingsong was 9 years older than Tianxin. That was not a problem. After all, age was just a number. Besides, 9 years was not a big deal as long as he treated Tianxin well. And how many are in your family? Who are your parents? Yi Tianxin hurriedly called out to her. Grandmother, are you feeling better today? I'm feeling much better. You must be so worried last night. For a moment, grandmother could not think straight, hence the prying. She was lost imagining Yi Tianxin's future with Li Qingsong. Now that Lu Qingxin came right at her doorstep, grandmother realized that, somehow, she had been too lax and had taken some things for granted. While Lu Jijuan could certainly take care of Yi Tianxin, what about his wife and daughter? Would they treat Yi Tianxin well, as one of their own? Her Tianxin was such a gentle, innocent, and lovely girl. She wouldn't want anything to happen to Tianxin, even the slightest bit of harm. Tianxin, shouldn't your examination results be out? She asked eagerly. Grandmother, it's still early. Don't worry about it, Yi Tianxin assured her. And from now on, you are not allowed to leave without letting me know. Can't you see how worried I am? Grandmother nodded and looked at Li Qingsong, smiling. This young man was tall and energetic and gave off the impression that he had an easygoing personality, though he looked formal. Then again, even with his stoic expression, his demeanor a little reserved, she still fancied him. At this point, grandmother was like a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. The longer she looked, the more she liked him for Yi Tianxin. Outside the hospital ward, Gu Yanqing held on to Lu Qingxin for support. The slap he got from Yi Tianxin left a big red mark on his face. He could still feel her palm on his cheek. Brother Yanqing, I know you are in pain, and I'm really sorry. It's all my fault. Lu Qingxin looked at Gu Yanqing with teary eyes. But how could Gu Yanqing bear to see Lu Qingxin cry? He didn't want to see her in that state, so he immediately consoled her. No, don't blame yourself. Your only fault, if you could call it that, was you're too kind. You're doing everything you can to help Uncle. But can't you see? Some people don't deserve your kindness. Lu Qingxin held Gu Yanqing's hand. Her pretty face was full of sadness. She murmured under her breath. Then, tell me, what should I do? On the one hand, there is my father, and on the other my mother. I'm also in a dilemma, Brother Yanqing. I'm also feeling so upset, so heartbroken, so desperate. Brother Yanqing, what should I do? I don't want my family to fall apart. I want me, father, and mother to always be together. Gu Yanqing used his good hand to pull Lu Qingxin into his arms for a hug, and then he whispered to her ear. Silly girl, you really make my heart ache. Brother Yanqing, father doesn't know that I've been here yet. If he finds out what happened, he will blame me for messing things up. What should I do? This is clearly your father's fault. If he blames you, then he's clearly something else, Gu Yanqing thought. He dared not voice out his opinion on Lu Qingxin. He didn't want to upset her. He won't. I will always be here for you no matter what, he promised. Qingxin, let's go back first. Lu Qingxin nodded. She looked back one last time. In her heart, she didn't want to leave. Gu Yanqing's arm, the one dislocated by Li Qingsong, was causing him searing pain, but he couldn't care less. He just wanted Lu Qingxin, his Lu Qingxin, to feel better. Meanwhile, Lu Qingxin could not stop thinking about Li Qingsong even though she was with Gu Yanqing. She recalled that very moment when Li Qingsong hit Gu Yanqing. He certainly made an impression on Li Qingxin. So neatly and perfectly executed, all in a blink of an eye. He seemed to have a very good physique. Perhaps his abs, or even Adonis belt, were to die for. And his face, it was like no other. It was akin to a bright star in a dark night. It commanded attention. So handsome. She wondered when she would see him again. He found his way into her heart. Gu Yanqing paled in comparison to him. He looked weak next to Li Qingsong. She seemed to have taken a liking on him. No, this wasn't just an infatuation. She had fallen in love with him. She couldn't explain how and when it happened. It just happened. However, she wasn't sure if he was seeing somebody else. Grandmother, I'll move you to another ward, right next to my ward. Yi Tianxin was taken aback and looked towards Li Qingsong. Is it possible to change? I heard the nurse say that there are limited beds. The nurse will come over in a while to help you move your things. Li Qingsong stood at the corner. He was occupied with thoughts. There was no way he could possibly be guarding Yi Tianxin and her grandmother 24 hours a day. But being an elderly woman and a fairly young lady, Li Qingsong was worried that someone might harass them again. How would the two of them be able to handle the situation? It's decided then. After you have switched rooms, I will help you with your stuff. That also makes it more convenient. All right. Yi Tianxin did not put up an ostentatious show of affectation. She was truly disgusted by the way Lu Qingxin behaved so early in the morning. Based on Yi Tianxin's observations on Lu Qingxin's temperament, she was not one who was going to take things lying down. She would definitely be back again. Yi Tianxin, on the other hand, was not that pleased to see Lu Qingxin and Gu Yanqing together. This pair of revolting people, although their meeting earlier wasn't pleasant, she sincerely hoped that they would just be together, stay loving and happy, for as long as they lived. After moving to the new ward, Yi Tianxin was taken aback by how luxurious it was. It was more of a hotel suite than a hospital ward. The ward was designed based on the standard configuration of a two-room house. In addition to the standard ward, there was also a bedroom for visitors. The living room had a television, a couch, and a coffee table. The kitchen had a refrigerator, a microwave, and kitchenware. It was literally a smaller version of an actual house. Next to the floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room was a pot of fig plant placed behind the curtains. The leaves were wide and thick. The room was spotlessly clean. Grandmother, it's so wonderful in here. Yi Tianxin helped her grandmother into the hospital ward. As soon as grandmother lay down, the nurse promptly put her back on the foredrip. It was not until Yi Tianxin and grandmother had settled down that Li Qingsong came in with some fruits. He saw that grandmother's foredrip was already reattached, so he handed the set of practice questions over to Yi Tianxin. I've marked out the questions that you answered wrongly. I also looked at the questions you attempted to ask earlier as well. You have problems with your foundation. The way you are approaching the questions now is practically like you're memorizing everything. You can't do it this way. I will teach you a method when the time comes, which will ensure that your learning is made easier. Li Qingsong was really nice to Yi Tianxin. Not only did he help with the change of hospital wards, but he also helped her with her practice questions. Even grandmother felt a little embarrassed for bothering him with so many things. Thank you, young man, grandmother remarked. Li Qingsong blushed. He was happy to see them appreciative of what he had been doing for them. He smiled and replied, Grandmother, if it wasn't for Tianxin donating blood, I wouldn't be in this world anymore. What I'm doing now is nothing compared to what Tianxin had done for me. Please allow me to return that kindness. While grandmother was undergoing a transfusion, Li Qingsong was receiving fluids via a suspended foredrip while supervising Yi Tianxin as she answered practice questions. With a top student like Li Qingsong as her teacher, Yi Tianxin's efficiency in answering questions improved by leaps and bounds. Just like what Li Qingsong had said, there was a problem with Yi Tianxin's foundation. He was not in a hurry. Instead, he slowly explained to her each topic that confused her. The two of them were at the table in front of the window to answer the questions. He was wearing a white sweater, while Yi Tianxin was wearing a checkered dress. Her black hair was tied into two long braids that casually rested on her shoulders, accentuating her features. When Duwon arrived, she was greeted with such a scene. She had been dreaming of this moment, a young couple getting to know each other. It was a beautiful picture. She could not bear to interrupt such a wonderful moment. Hello. A greeting from the nurse brought them back to reality. Yi Tianxin was the first to react, and then affectionately spoke, Mother. Grandmother was startled when she heard Yi Tianxin call the stranger her mother. Yes, she was old but not senile. This woman was not her daughter. Grandmother, I've just acknowledged Mother Duwon as my godmother. Grandmother came to her senses, smiled at Duwon, and then replied, This child, without mentioning a word about it, you found yourself a godmother. We have to prepare a gift. In the town of Jiameng, acknowledging someone as a godmother was a matter taken seriously. There had to be a ceremony. It was not as simple as announcing it. Tianxin had grown up without a mother, and it had been like that since she was a child. It would also be a blessing for Tianxin if Duwon could dote on her and love her like a daughter. Auntie, it doesn't matter whether there is a ceremony or not. The most important thing is that I like Tianxin. Li Qingsong was as lofty as the great Mount Tai and was unaffected by events happening around him. He looked at the practice questions quietly, as if he did not see Duwon coming. He had never had much patience for people other than his family, especially women. Tianxin, this is the contract. Take a look at it carefully, and if nothing bothers or confuses you, you can just sign it. Yi Tianxin received the contract. However, just as she was about to flip through it casually, Li Qingsong took it from her. She was surprised by Li Qingsong's action. Li Qingsong did not really like Duwon. He sensed something different from her. According to what Tianxin had said, Duwon was Yi Tianxin's godmother. But why was Duwon still getting Tianxin to enter the entertainment industry? Did she not know how messy the entertainment industry was? Li Qingsong went through the contract before pointing out a few issues. Ms. Du, these areas need some revisions, he sternly informed Duwon. Duwon looked at the issues that Li Qingsong marked out with his pen and did not find anything wrong with them. Tianxin is still a minor. She will not be participating in intimate scenes that involve kissing and revealing her body. She has the right to reject invitations to all meal gatherings with the crew. She will not participate in any activities other than acting, Li Qingsong demanded. Duwon was speechless for a moment. She had not really given this much thought. This gentleman, who is he? What's his role in Yi Tianxin's life?
Du roi Monderde.
Yi Tianxin was embarrassed and had to interrupt Duwon to say, Mother, he is Li Qingsong. He is my friend. Mr. Li, I am Tianxin's godmother. I will never bring harm to her. Duwon's head was aching because of Li Qingsong's concerns. She really thought of Tianxin as her daughter. She would never lead her to something that could harm her. She would protect her at any cost. Li Qingsong had a background in science, and he also studied law. The only things he believed in were the terms and conditions that were stated in black and white. Things like verbal agreements were never going to be as real and binding as what was written down in black and white. Ms. Du, from the very moment you took out this contract, what exists between the two of you becomes a working relationship, Li Qingsong stated indifferently. Although she appreciated that he actually cared about her welfare, Yi Tianxin was embarrassed by Li Qingsong's behavior. She wasn't expecting this kind of reaction from him. Nevertheless, the feeling of being protected by someone was great. She really loved this feeling of being pampered and protected. It had never occurred to Do when that Li Qingsong would say that. I understand what you mean, she acknowledged. I will revise the contract.
Li Qingsong nodded in satisfaction.
He clearly knew that Tianxin wanted to be part of this movie because she did not have the money to pay for her grandmother's medical bills and treatment. But he did not want Tianxin to really be involved in the entertainment industry. The entertainment circle was really not suitable for Tianxin. When it came to Tianxin's personality, she liked to be in the limelight. Despite everything, Tianxin would still want to live a peaceful life. Thank you. Having said his piece, Li Qingsong then sat back down. Du-won handed the script she was holding in her hand to Yi Tianxin. I've been working on this script for a very long time. Jean Xin has always wanted to film this movie, but I have never been able to find the best fit for the role of the female lead, which is why I have never agreed to him producing this movie. Originally, I was thinking that if I never get to find a suitable female lead, I would rather not produce this movie. I don't want to shoot a terrible film that will ruin the story I hold dear to my heart either. Tianxin, you are the perfect candidate for the female lead I have in mind. Take a look at the script first. Jean Xin has already started preparations. When everything is ready, we can also shoot other people's scenes first, and your scenes can wait until the college entrance exams are over before we commence shooting. This arrangement was the best. Yi Tianxin was really grateful for it. If Du-won had not lent a helping hand, she would not have had such courage and confidence to fight back against Lu Jijuan and his daughter when they came. Mother, thank you. Du-won caressed Yi Tianxin's braided hair lovingly and said, between you and me, is there a need to stand on ceremony? When you get into Capital University, Mother will give you a present. Okay.
Yi Tianxin replied sweetly.
Because she was going to make a movie, Du-won would also have her hands full with so many things to do. She could not possibly watch over grandmother for Yi Tianxin. She said, Tianxin, take care of grandmother first. There is no rush for anything else.
All right.
I got it, Yi Tianxin replied. Du-won then said to grandmother, Grandmother, Tianxin is a good girl. Don't worry, I will take good care of Tianxin. Also, Mr. Li, Tianxin has a bright future ahead of her. Grandmother was grinning from ear to ear. She was not afraid of death. The only thing she was afraid of was that Tianxin would be left alone to live in this world. Now that she saw how good Li Qingsong and Du-won were to Yi Tianxin, suddenly, she realized that there was no longer anything to fear. Yi Tianxin escorted Du-won out of the hospital ward with Du-won holding Yi Tianxin's hand. It was pretty obvious that though the two of them had not spent more than several days together, in her heart, Du-won genuinely thought of Yi Tianxin as her daughter. Tianxin, that friend of yours is quite a good person. Godmother, I saved his life. When we were in the town of Jiameng, he got injured. I was the one who donated blood to save him. So now, it's sort of like he is repaying the favor.
Du-won smiled.
However, she was wondering if it was possible for a man and a woman to be together, yet not be in a relationship. She was quite reluctant to ask. She didn't want to be intrusive. It was better for the two of them to get along with each other naturally. She didn't want to ask questions that would put Yi Tianxin and Li Qingsong in an awkward situation. Study hard. There is nothing to get anxious about over matters with respect to acting. I will send the card over to you tomorrow. Pay back all the money that you've borrowed first.
Yi Tianxin nodded.
Once the contract was signed, she would be able to get an advance payment. And the first person she wanted to pay back was Li Qingsong. She owed him a lot. Mother. I know what you're going to say. You don't have to be so formal with me. Have you ever seen a mother and daughter standing on ceremony with each other? Tianxin, I think of you as my daughter. It is a consolation for me. Let's do away with all the formalities between us, okay? Okay. Tears welled up in Yi Tianxin's eyes. Du-won hugged Yi Tianxin tightly and said, Silly girl, grandmother will be fine. Yes. Yi Tianxin watched Du-won walk away. Then, she turned around and started to make her way back to grandmother's hospital ward. But as soon as she reached the ward, Li Qingsong reached for Yi Tianxin and pulled her into his own hospital ward. You, she exclaimed. You scared the hell out of me. Yi Tianxin tried to calm down as she clutched at her chest. She was out of breath. Li Qingsong looked down at Yi Tianxin condescendingly and said, Tianxin, you trust people too easily. Brotherly, I know what you're worried about, but Mother Du-won is not a bad person. That night when we first arrived at Capital City, if it wasn't for Mother Du-won who took us in, we would be sleeping in the streets. However, for Li Qingsong, allowing a young lady to enter show business was not a good thing, not really bad, but not good either, nor was it an appropriate thing to do. Also, who could possibly know Du-won's true intentions? So, what's your plan? I'm going to stop acting after I'm done with this movie. I still want to go to college. The entertainment industry was already full of actors. It wouldn't make any difference should Yi Tianxin decide to back out on the film. After all, she did not want to become an actress, let alone a superstar. She wanted to be that person that she had always wanted to be. In the afternoon, a specialist will be here to examine Grandma and give an expert opinion. I will accompany you. You don't have to be afraid.
Yi Tianxin nodded.
Brotherly, you have been so kind to me that I am really at a loss. How am I ever going to repay you? She merely donated a little amount of blood, and yet it resulted in him, Li Qingsong, helping her and grandmother with their needs and more. Li Qingsong frowned and then cracked a joke. Do you want me to return the blood to you?
No. Yi Tianxin smiled.
You don't have to. Li Qingsong didn't react to Yi Tianxin's response. Instead, he walked away. Yi Tianxin followed Li Qingsong to grandmother's hospital ward. Li Qingsong sat on the sofa, studying the script. Yi Tianxin, on the other hand, went over to grandmother's side and whispered, "Grandmother, you don't have to worry. I have the money to pay for your treatment. Now all you have to do is relax and wait for my movie. I'm going to be a superstar." Grandmother took Yi Tianxin's hand. She was grateful for having Yi Tianxin. "Tianxin, you're coming to the Capital Film Academy was not only for an audition, right? I mean, you brought me here to get checked. Is it not?" Yi Tianxin shook her head and spoke. "Yes, grandmother. But if I don't make it to the Capital Film Academy, I still have another way out." "Silly girl." Grandmother let out a sigh. This was all the fruit of her own daughter's evil doing. If right from the beginning, her daughter had not done such a thing, Tianxin would not have grown up without a mother. "Grandmother, can you tell me what exactly happened between my mother and Lu Jijuan?" In her previous life, all that Yi Tianxin knew was that Lu Jijuan was her father. She was also not very clear about the past between them. Grandmother shook her head and answered, "I don't know either. Back then, when your mother came back, she was already pregnant with you. I did ask her who your father was, but she refused to say anything. She just liked going to the city gates every day and would simply stand there to look. And later on, your mother received a telegram. She left, leaving you behind. And then came the news of your mother's death. Lu Jijuan came to our place and said that he was going to take you away. I never knew what happened between them. I asked, but your mother didn't give me answers." Yi Tianxin noticed how sad grandmother became when she talked about what happened to her mother. Silence ensued. Then grandmother spoke again. "All these years, I am still hoping to see her, that she's still alive somewhere, living the life she has always wanted." All specialists from the Capital First Hospital were gathered in the conference room at 3 in the afternoon for a consultation regarding Yi Tianxin's grandmother. Yi Tianxin sat in the corner anxiously and listened while the specialists discussed her grandmother's condition. As she barely knew anything about medical science, the technical terms used sounded strange to her, and she was at a loss as to how to respond. Based on grandmother's current condition, could she still undergo surgery? She asked worriedly when the specialists ended their discussion. One of the surgeons replied, "In theory, your grandmother's illness could be treated if she were to undergo surgery and take chemo drugs simultaneously. However, every surgery poses a risk. No doctor could guarantee a 100% success rate for an operation, and I am no exception." Yi Tianxin was well aware that her grandmother's condition was tricky and that it came with a relatively high surgical risk. The specialists had already given her a clear explanation earlier. Li Qingsong stole one glance at Yi Tianxin's petite face from the corner of his eye and noticed that she had turned pale. He became more concerned about Yi Tianxin. "So we could treat grandmother's illness effectively if she undergoes surgery and takes the chemo drugs? What are the odds?" Yi Tianxin continued to inquire about her grandmother's treatment plan. After a moment of silence, the lead surgeon replied, 50%. 50? That's only half a chance, Yi Tianxin thought. She felt a sudden pang spreading out from her heart. She had no idea how to face the harsh reality that awaited her. "In that case, please schedule her for surgery now," she requested. The chief surgeon nodded and reminded, "Sure, Ms. Yi, but we still could not perform surgery on your grandmother. You're not of age yet to give consent even though you are her immediate family." "Is that so?" she muttered, and the lead surgeon nodded silently. As there were many medical disputes lately, the hospital had become exceptionally careful and stringent involving surgeries, out of fear of encountering any trouble. "I'll sign," Li Qingsong suggested, stepping forward. "Grandmother's condition is already quite severe and would worsen with each passing day," Li Qingsong stated. "Besides, she can't afford to wait until Yi Tianxin turns 18 before she undergoes surgery." "Young Master Li, I would advise you to think twice," the director of the Capital First Hospital warned. Li Qingsong waved his huge hands and dismissed the director's warning. "Give me all the documents. I'll sign them now." When he received the documents, he signed them as fast as he could, under the watchful eyes of all the specialists, and took up full responsibility like a man. The director of the hospital could not help but take a second look at Yi Tianxin. Young Master Li of the capital had always been reserved. Of all people, why does he seem to have a soft spot for this young lady from the countryside? Could none of the ladies from the wealthy families in the capital hold a candle to this girl? They would be so upset if this is the case, he wondered. "I better report this to Mr. Li so I will not be held responsible in case anything go wrong. I'll also seek advice from him," the director contemplated. Yi Tianxin was reticent after coming out of the conference room with Li Qingsong. She was often reminded of how fortunate she was to have met a great man like Li Qingsong when she donated blood back then. Being alone in the huge capital, she would have struggled terribly if they hadn't crossed paths. "Tianxin," Lu Jijuan suddenly called out from behind her. Yi Tianxin was stunned to see him, and a fleeting look of disgust flashed across her eyes. "Why is he here again?" she growled. "Tianxin, why did you change wards?" he asked. Li Qingsong shielded Yi Tianxin behind him calmly, and Lu Jijuan looked disapprovingly when he saw this. He was still against the idea that Yi Tianxin's boyfriend was a man from a wealthy family. "Mr. Lu, aren't you well aware of the reason why grandmother would change wards?" Li Qingsong spoke with condescension. "We changed wards because we don't want to have anything to do with you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?" Lu Jijuan sighed and responded, ignoring Li Qingsong. "Tianxin, why are you so stubborn? Your grandmother needs to undergo surgery. How would you be able to handle this all by yourself? Besides, this is not a minor surgery. Where would you get the money from? I am aware that you hate me, but could we discuss this civilly for the time being? Yi Tianxin's lips slowly curled up into a smirk. She could not understand how he could be so brazen. What makes him think that I would bear a grudge against him?
Ye Tianjin pondered.
I don't hate or blame him. If someone is to blame for everything that had happened, it will be me. I'm the one who should be blamed. I was too foolish and easily led on. Mr. Liu, you have a daughter and a family. I have no intention of intervening in your family's affairs, but, similarly, I hope that you won't meddle with my peaceful life with my grandmother. I ask for your understanding on this. My grandmother's affairs are of no concern to you and your daughter. While Lu Jijuan wanted to move closer to Yi Tianxin, he did not dare do so, for he was certain that Li Qingsong would definitely step in again. Lu Jijuan was a respectable man, and it would be foolish of him more likely to look like one if he were to be thrown out again like the last time. Tianxin, I'm your father. I will not harm you, Lu Jijuan promised. Believe me, I also hope for your grandmother's complete healing. Don't be so hostile towards me. The most important things for us now are your grandmother and your college entrance examination. Unfortunately, his words fell on deaf ears. Yi Tianxin felt grateful for the fact that Mother Duan had allowed her to star in a movie by the renowned director, Jean Xian, which saved her from the need to beg for money from Lu Jijuan. She was also thankful that she could face Lu Jijuan with confidence and proudly declare that she had never depended on him for survival. Above all, she was most grateful for the fact that she had managed to save Li Qingsong back then. He was like a huge tree that could guard a sapling like her firmly against harsh conditions. Mr. Liu, there's no need for you to concern yourself with my affairs or my grandmother's illness. I beg you to stay away from my family, Yi Tianxin demanded. When she spoke, she looked as charming as her mother, Yi Linling. No matter how adverse the conditions are, she remains firm and stubborn. She's exactly like her mother, Linling Yi Linling, Lu Jijuan thought. She was a lifelong dream that he had been chasing after. Tianxin, it's impossible for me to stay away from you. Back then, your grandmother refused to hand you over to me. I should have insisted on raising you by my side. Now that grandmother is ill, please give me a chance to be a father to you. You could depend on me for the rest of your life, Lu Jijuan promised and stole a glance at Li Qingsong. Although he noticed Li Qingsong's displeasure, he went on. Besides, I'm your father, and I will never allow you to fall in love at an early age. Both Li Qingsong and Yi Tianxin were surprised when they heard what Lu Jijuan said. They could not imagine how he could be so tactless to declare his objection towards Yi Tianxin's infatuation. No father would slight his daughter so openly without knowing the truth. Judging from this, he was exactly like his daughter, Lu Qingxin. Mr. Liu, it seems like you always have the impression that I am having an inappropriate relationship with any man within my social circle. Will you suspect that Brother Li is my sugar daddy if he's even older? Although Yi Tianxin had never mentioned about her family to Li Qingsong, he could roughly figure out who Lu Jijuan was. Mr. Liu, first of all, I'm not Tianxin's boyfriend, Li Qingsong clarified. I won't make a move on a young girl. I have shame. Secondly, please be mindful of your words, especially in public. What you've said could cause other people to develop misconceptions about Tianxin. When Lu Jijuan heard this, he couldn't say a thing. Words escaped him. It was inevitable for him to second-guess the relationship between Yi Tianxin and Li Qingsong, for he had seen many young girls hanging out with men old enough to be their uncles in shopping malls. While they would address these men as their uncles with endearment, everyone knew what their actual relationship was. Since Yi Tianxin was a beautiful young lady and had come from the countryside, it was entirely possible for her to be easily fooled and manipulated by Li Qingsong. As Yi Tianxin's biological father, Lu Jijuan felt that it was only right of him to take his daughter in hand. Sir, since you are not Tianxin's boyfriend, then the affairs between my daughter and I have nothing to do with you. Aren't you being a little nosy? Yi Tianxin, who could not be bothered to waste her time talking to Lu Jijuan, interrupted. Mr. Liu, I think you are the nosy one here. Since you have so much time on your hands, why don't you take your own daughter, Lu Qingxin, in hand and stop her from running off to the hospital to claim a random stranger as her sister? Besides, you should also mind your words and actions. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Yi Tianxin's words pierced Lu Jijuan's heart. They hurt him terribly. How could she treat me like this, he wondered. Tianxin, no matter how hard you try to deny it, you can never cut ties with me. I am your father, and the same blood flows in you. As a father, I am responsible for you. Over the past 10 years, I neglected your existence because of various circumstances, and I regret it. I don't deny that I've made a grave mistake. But please, give me a chance. I'll try my best to make it up to you. Please let me be a father to you, he begged. When Yi Tianxin heard this, her head throbbed in pain. She simply could not understand Lu Jijuan's persistence when she had already made herself clear. Why can't he stop bothering me? She thought, exasperated. I don't need a father, Yi Tianxin declared with conviction. I've never needed one in the past, so neither will I need one in the future. Please direct all of your fatherly love to your daughter, Lu Qingxin. As she finished speaking, she noticed Lu Qingxin. She was behind Lu Jijuan. She lifted her head and looked at Yi Tianxin. Then she spoke meekly. Sister, father really misses you and grandmother very much. Yi Tianxin rolled her eyes at Lu Qingxin. If only we are back in the town of Jiming instead of a hospital in the capital. I swear that I will chase this shameless duo with a broom without any hesitation, Yi Tianxin thought angrily. Lu Jijuan did not expect that Lu Qingxin would follow him there. He asked, shocked, Qingxin, what are you doing here? Dad, I know that Yi Tianxin is your daughter. Lu Qingxin responded carefully. She was afraid that Lu Jijuan would scold her. She lowered her head as tears formed in her eyes. Her slender shoulders slightly shook. Qingxin, I did not mean to hide it from you, Lu Jijuan explained. He knew that his daughter was an obedient girl. It was just that he did not expect that his daughter would be so understanding and behave gracefully in the face of such a situation. He was very touched. Compared to Lu Qingxin, Yi Tianxin seemed too stubborn. However, it was not her fault. She did not have any parents to look after her, so she was brought up by her grandmother. It was inevitable that her grandmother spoiled her. Perhaps that's why she lacked discipline at times. In the future, when he brought Yi Tianxin home with him, he would definitely make her learn from Qingxin. Girls should be gentle and adorable. They should always do things with grace. It's all right, Dad. I understand. Elder sister is your daughter, and you hope that she'll agree to live with us. I know that too. Dad, don't worry. I will help you convince Mom and elder sister. Yi Tianxin saw that Lu Qingxin and Lu Jijuan were having quite a long conversation, so she pulled Li Qingsong away and prepared to leave. The father and daughter duo were exactly the same. They ignored what Yi Tianxin had said. They just thought that Yi Tianxin would want what the Lu family had, and that as long as they welcomed her, she would give up everything she had and run to them happily. Tianxin, don't go. Lu Jijuan ran after them and stood in front of Yi Tianxin and Li Qingsong. Lu Qingxin ran over there as well and said sweetly, Elder sister, please listen to what Dad has to say. Dad has always been very worried about Grandma's illness. He has been asking people to find the best doctors and the best hospitals. Elder sister, Grandma brought you up. I know that you want her to be safe and healthy. We want that too. Lu Jijuan then chimed in. Tianxin, you can't do anything about Grandma's illness alone. I know someone who knows a specialist. We can arrange for a team of specialists to treat your grandmother. You are so young. They won't even allow you to sign a consent for Grandma's operation. I don't care what you think about me, but I think we should put Grandma's illness first. We can discuss other things later. Are you okay with it?
Ye Tianjin clenched her fists.
They were itching to hit someone. She didn't care who. She just wanted to release her anger. You don't have to worry about Grandma's illness. You don't have to worry about her medical bills, the specialists, or even the consent. Mr. Lu, please take your daughter with you and leave. I think my grandmother will live a little longer if she doesn't see the both of you. Lu Qingxin disagreed, shaking her head. Elder sister, you don't have money. How are you going to pay for Grandma's treatment and hospitalization? If Grandma finds out that you have sold your dignity just to pay for medical bills, she will be very sad. Elder sister, the Lu family has money, and you are Dad's daughter, my sister. Dad, Mom, and we can't just stand by and do nothing.
Likin kan narum fakuldli.
Lu Jijuan had not been there when Yi Tianxin needed a father. Yet, he suddenly showed up when Yi Tianxin was already old and no longer needed a father. It really made one suspicious of his motives. Lu Jijuan and his daughter were not able to get close to Yi Tianxin, with Li Qingsong around. Lu Jijuan was very much annoyed. He had to go and ask around. Who exactly was this guy? Why was he so nosy? Couldn't he just mind his own business? Dad, who is that man with elder sister? Is he her boyfriend? Lu Qingxin looked at Lu Jijuan expectantly. She was hoping to get an answer from Lu Jijuan. I don't know either. Lu Jijuan's answer disappointed Lu Qingxin. She was expecting that her father knew. If my father had no idea who he was, then what should I do? Lu Qingxin wondered. She should stay by Yi Tianxin's side because only Yi Tianxin knew who the man was. That day, when they met at the hospital room, she instantly fell in love with him. It was love at first sight. She kept on dreaming about him. It was a pity that they only met for such a short time. She could not remember clearly how he looked like. Her heart was warm. That wonderful feeling made her long for him every waking day. She liked him. She liked him very much. She wanted to be close to him. She wanted to be with him today, tomorrow, all the days of her life. She wanted to be part of his life. Then, one day, he would realize that compared to Yi Tianxin, who grew up in a little town, she suited him more as she was from a wealthy family. I thought he was elder sister's boyfriend. He's so handsome. Elder sister has such a good taste, Lu Qingxin remarked. Lu Jijuan rebuked her immediately when he heard that. He is not Tianxin's boyfriend, and he cannot be Tianxin's boyfriend. I will definitely not allow both of them to be together. Lu Qingxin tilted her tiny face upwards and said worriedly, Dad, it's obvious that elder sister doesn't want to acknowledge us. If you object to her dating, she will definitely be annoyed at us and think that we're intruding into her personal life. I am her father. I am doing this for her own good, Lu Jijuan said and looked at the blooming flowers in the garden. There were not many, but they cheered up the people that went there. It was currently spring, and some of the flowers had yet to bloom. The beauty of those flowers would never compare to Yi Linlong's in his memories. Qingxin, have you told your mother about Tianxin? Lu Jijuan asked. Lu Qingxin held Lu Jijuan's arm and answered, Dad, I didn't tell Mom about it. I think that you should tell her yourself. It would be better if you do. Lu Jijuan's head hurt. He knew what his wife was like. Handling this matter would not be easy. However, he must not give up on Yi Tianxin. He had to keep Yi Tianxin by his side. If his wife disagreed, then he would have to divorce her. Of course, he did not want to do that unless he had no other choice. Tianxin, do you really like Tianxin? I think, given her character, you might be at a disadvantage when getting along with her. Lu Qingxin spoke gently. Dad, I have always wanted a sister. Elder sister Tianxin just hasn't wrapped her mind around this. Her grandma was ill, and then we suddenly showed up. Maybe she just doesn't know what to do. Elder sister needs some time to get used to this. Let's just wait for a while. Lu Jijuan was very satisfied with what Lu Qingxin had said. He cleared his throat and said, Your elder sister used to live in a rather secluded place, and she is also quite stubborn. Don't fight her. You don't have to bother with your elder sister's matters for the time being. What's more important is for you to prepare well for the exams. How could I still focus and prepare for the exams at a time like this? Lu Qingxin thought aloud. Her eyes, her dreams, and her heart were filled with him. She did not know his name. She did not know his age.
She did not know anything about him.
But he was already everything to her. She wanted to be beside him, even though he was with Yi Tianxin at the moment. She could only hope that one day, he would be with her. Dad, you don't have to worry about my college entrance exams. As a fine art student, I have already been guaranteed a place at Capital University long ago. What I'm worried about now is elder sister. She has to take care of grandma, who is ill, and still has to prepare for the exams. How is she going to pass the exams? I heard you say yesterday that grandma's illness is very serious, that even the surgery won't guarantee her complete healing. Now that grandma is ill, she must be really worried about elder sister. Dad, what we have to do now is to show grandma how sincere we are. Grandma will certainly understand that we are elder sister's only family when she passes away. Lu Jijuan knew that too. He was just worried that if he forced their hands, it might backfire on him. You don't have to concern yourself with this matter. I'll talk to them first. Lu Qingxin's eyes reddened. Dad, do you just want elder sister and not me anymore? I also hope that you and elder sister can make up as soon as possible, too. Silly girl. Both you and Tianxin are my daughters. I care about you equally. Who said I didn't want you anymore? Lu Qingxin smiled at Lu Jijuan's words. Then, Dad, since we are already here, let's visit grandma at the ward. Let's go. Lu Jijuan and Lu Qingxin entered the elevator. Just as they were about to exit, the bodyguards waiting at the lobby stopped them. No one is allowed to enter without permission. Lu Jijuan was stunned. Oh, right. Grandma was staying at this level, he remembered. But why were there guards stationed at the elevator lobby? We are here to visit a patient. The guard did not recognize Lu Jijuan and Lu Qingxin, so he naturally did not let them in. Get the patient's family to pick you up if you want to visit. If no one comes here to get you, then you must leave. Lu Qingxin took advantage of her beauty and smiled sweetly. Elder brother, my grandmother is inside. My dad and I are very worried about her. Can you please let us pass?
No.
I'm afraid you have to leave, the guard replied firmly. Lu Qingxin could not convince the two guards. They were so stubborn. She stomped her feet in frustration. Who knew which bigwig was recuperating inside? They even had bodyguards.
Oh, no.
A thought suddenly occurred to Lu Qingxin. Both grandma and Yi Tianxin were from the countryside. How could they possibly stay in such a posh ward? The person who brought grandma and Yi Tianxin into such a ward must definitely be the man beside Yi Tianxin. Who was that man? Lu Qingxin felt the warmth in her heart. She seemed to see some things she had not known before through this mess that was reality. Lu Qingxin bit her lips and thought about this question. The problem was Yi Tianxin and grandma were both from a little town. How did they get to know such a bigwig? Furthermore, it seemed like Li Qingsong treated Yi Tianxin quite well. Dad, what are we going to do now? We came here to visit grandma. We can't leave without seeing her. Lu Jijuan stood in the elevator lobby. He did not dare force his way in. Let's wait for a while. Lu Qingxin stood obediently beside Lu Jijuan. The two of them did not do anything and just waited silently in the corner. Meanwhile, inside the hospital room, Yi Tianxin and Li Qingsong could not help but sigh when they found out what the two were doing. Meeting such shameless people was scary. It was a nightmare. They had already said all they could, but those two refused to listen. And no one could even scold them. They could only let them stand there and be an annoyance. The main thing was, Yi Tianxin and Li Qingsong were embarrassed. Lu Qingxin and Lu Jijuan waited at the elevator lobby for almost 2 hours before Du-Wan arrived with a thermos. The security guard looked at Du-Wan suspiciously and stopped her. It wasn't until Li Qingsong motioned for him to let Du-Wan in before she was allowed to pass. Why is she allowed to pass and we are not? Lu Qingxin asked sweetly. She did so convincingly, trying to stay calm despite her annoyance. Lu Qingxin had always cared about how she appeared in public. Her legs were also aching from standing for so long. The guard looked at Lu Qingxin and replied, Miss, she is a relative of the patient. If you two are the patient's family, you can call your relatives and ask them to come here to collect you. Then, we will definitely let you pass. Lu Qingxin did not respond. She looked at Lu Jijuan sadly and said, Dad, I'm hungry. Lu Jijuan had not had anything to drink for 2 hours, and he felt he could not stay any longer. He thought about it and spoke. I'll give Yanqing a call and get him to send you home. I'll stay here and wait. Since Lu Jijuan was not leaving, Lu Qingxin did not want to leave either. She decided, then I shall stay with you. No, I will call Yanqing now. Why don't you go home first? Lu Qingxin could not argue with that, and agreed. Less than 30 minutes later, Gu Yanqing arrived at the hospital. Lu Qingxin walked towards him the moment he left the elevator. Elder brother Yanqing, I already told Dad not to bother you, but he refused to listen. Gu Yanqing greeted Lu Jijuan, then turned to Lu Qingxin and said, Silly girl, is there a need to be so polite to me? They still won't let you in.
No.
Elder sister must still hate us. Elder brother Yanqing, what do you think we should do? Gu Yanqing comforted Lu Qingxin and said softly, I'll take you to get something to eat first. Then, you can tell me what happened. Gu Yanqing and Lu Qingxin left while Lu Jijuan waited at the elevator lobby alone. The security guards have already changed shifts, but Lu Jijuan was still not allowed to get in. When a person had nothing to do, their mind would often wander. Images from his youth flickered through his mind. Lu Jijuan thought that he must be getting old. It was easy for someone to remember the past when they were old, because the past was so wonderful. It was stifling, and he longed for it so. Duan entered the room and greeted Yi Tianxin's grandma with a smile, asking her how she was feeling. Grandma replied that she was fine and laughed heartily. Duan, we've troubled you. Duan stood beside Li Qingsong and handed him the amended contract. Mr. Li, this is the amended contract. Take a look at it and see if there's anything else that needs to be changed. Li Qingsong took the document and read it thoroughly. He felt rather satisfied after reading it. There were no commonly seen pitfalls in the contract. Duan seemed like a good person. There's no problem with the contract. Li Qingsong handed the contract to Yi Tianxin. Yi Tianxin took the contract and signed her name on it without any hesitation. Mom, I've signed the contract. I hope that our movie will top the box office and become well known to all. Yi Tianxin took some time to read the script for Red Cherry. She felt slightly shocked because the famous director, Jean Xian, had not directed this movie when she had died in a car accident in her past life. The storyline for Red Cherry was captivating. Furthermore, since it was a drama film, many people could surely relate to it. If she acted well, she might even win an award for her role in Red Cherry. Duan smiled when she heard Yi Tianxin's blessings. She said, I don't have any hopes for the ticket sales. I just want to make a movie using the story I have in my heart. Tianxin, up until now, everyone has been making commercial films. It would be difficult to top the box office. It won't be too bad if the movie becomes known to all, though. Duan did not tell Tianxin that she had mortgaged all her properties to the bank. She had put all her eggs in one basket for this endeavor. If she failed, she failed. If she succeeded, she succeeded. This was her destiny. Red Cherry was her obsession. It was for her to remember those people and those things that had happened. Mom. With Uncle Jean and Yuo, no. With me as well. This movie of ours will definitely become a dark horse in the box office. Duan had already decided to put everything she had in the movie. One could imagine how complex her feelings were. Yi Tianxin's words were a form of support and a great encouragement to her. Yes, we will definitely succeed. Duan stretched out her hand and stroked the back of Yi Tianxin's hand softly. I have gotten someone to hire a reliable caregiver for your grandmother. Your grandmother and I are hoping that you focus on your studies and achieve good results at your college entrance exam. Tianxin, although I think that while taking the exams and going to college might not be the only path that everyone has to take, pursuing a degree is also a different experience in life. You will get to see different things in college. I hope that you do the things you love the most. Don't waste your youth. Life is, well, short. We only get to live once for a few decades. I hope that you will have no regrets. Li Qingsong left the room and strode to the elevator lobby. Lu Jijuan was immediately filled with courage when he saw Li Qingsong. Where did you hide my daughter? The security guard stopped Lu Jijuan, not allowing him to get near to Li Qingsong. Li Qingsong raised his hand. His eyes were calm as he stared at Lu Jijuan. At that moment, Lu Jijuan felt as if he was not looking at a young man, but a bloodthirsty demon that had emerged from a mountain of corpses. Li Qingsong's aura was strong. It was so strong that Lu Jijuan did not even dare to breathe. A shiver ran down his spine. He could feel his knees weakened. He had cold sweats in his palms. Give my daughter back to me. Lu Jijuan roared pitifully. Li Qingsong's cold and thin lips twitched up slightly. Then he spoke. Your daughter? Mr. Lu, do you have proof when you claim that Tianxin is your daughter? Lu Jijuan retorted. She is the proof. My blood flows in her veins. I gave her life. Are you really that shameless? Yi Tianxin was almost 18. If Lu Jijuan really wanted to acknowledge her as his daughter, why would he wait for 18 years? Yi Tianxin's grandmother not allowing him to acknowledge Yi Tianxin was just an excuse. No, you are shameless. Li Qingsong ignored Lu Jijuan, who suddenly turned pale. He turned around and said to the guards, escort this man out. If he comes back, throw him out again. If he comes back more than 3 times, break his legs. The bodyguard replied, yes, young masterly. Lu Jijuan harumphed loudly. He did not understand. What right did the man have to treat him like that? However, before Lu Jijuan could react, he was dragged away by the 2 guards, each of them holding one of his arms tightly. Their task would be complete once they successfully got rid of him.
Ding!
The elevator chimed, and the doors opened. Gu Yanqing and Lu Qingxin emerged from the elevator, chatting and laughing. The guards tossed Lu Jijuan in. It all happened so fast. Dad, are you okay? Lu Qingxin asked worriedly. Inside the elevator, Lu Qingxin helped Lu Jijuan up. She looked up at Li Qingsong with tears in her eyes. You? How dare you treat my dad like that? Gu Yanqing held Lu Jijuan's other arm. His heart was filled with hatred and disgust for Yi Tianxin. Did that wild country brat think that she could do whatever she wanted now that she had the backing of a rich man? Li Qingsong turned around coldly. He could not be bothered to waste his precious time on these nobodies. Just as Li Qingsong turned around, Lu Qingxin rushed out of the elevator. She wanted to demand an explanation from Li Qingsong. However, before she could even get close to Li Qingsong, he swept his leg behind him. Lu Qingxin's slight body was like a leaf falling in the autumn winds as she was thrown backward into the air. Qingxin. Gu Yanqing rushed towards Lu Qingxin and scooped her up. His eyes were filled with anger. I'm fine, elder brother Yanqing. Don't worry. Li Qingsong's attack might have seemed impressive, but he did not hit any of her vital organs. However, even so, Lu Qingxin's beautiful face was pale from the fright. Li Qingsong swept past Lu Qingxin and Gu Yanqing with a distant expression. He then wrote a check calmly before bending down to put it in Lu Qingxin's hand. For your medical bills. There's no need to thank me, he said condescendingly. Lu Qingxin's face turned red. Li Qingsong's action was a slap on her face. Tears of humiliation rolled down her face. How? How could you humiliate me like this? Gu Yanqing snatched the check from Lu Qingxin and tore it into pieces in front of Li Qingsong. This was too insulting. Pieces of paper fell to the ground. Lu Qingxin looked at Li Qingsong's face dazedly. This was a face she would never forget. His eyes were like the brightest stars in the night sky, shining light into the darkest parts of her heart. I don't care who you are. Apologize to Qingxin right now. Gu Yanqing definitely would not tolerate Li Qingsong treating Lu Qingxin like that in front of him. He would not let it pass. Gu Yanqing, do you know where the last person who made me apologize is? Li Qingsong's statement was filled with ridicule. They were currently in the capital, and Gu Yanqing dared to make Li Qingsong apologize. The last person who made Li Qingsong apologize was in jail and had been there for the past 5 years. You hurt someone for no reason. Gu Yanqing wanted to rush right in front of Li Qingsong. Even though he knew that Li Qingsong's status was special and that he was a powerful man, he wanted to go all out and do something for his girl even once. Elder brother Yanqing, I'm fine. Lu Qingxin struggled to stand up, and she held on to Gu Yanqing's arm tightly. You're no match for him. Don't go. Gu Yanqing hugged Lu Qingxin. He hated himself for being weak and useless. He did not even have the ability to protect the person he loved at a time like this. Qingxin, how can I let him bully you? Does he think his family owns this hospital? Can he do whatever he wants with no regard for the law? Gu Yanqing's voice was loud. He was agitated and furious. People call him Young Master Gu when he was in Shanghai City as well. Anyone who saw him treated him with respect. Since Gu Yanqing was born, no one had dared to behave so arrogantly in front of him. Furthermore, this man hurt the girl Gu Yanqing loved the most. If he tolerated this, could he even be called a man? In her heart, Lu Qingxin could not help but compare Gu Yanqing to Li Qingsong. Li Qingsong was much more superior to Gu Yanqing in all aspects. Her mother once told her that a woman's marriage was as good as her second life. A woman's first life was given to her by her parents. Her second life was given to her by her husband. If a woman married a good man, she would be like a flower, blooming radiantly and beautifully. If a woman married poorly, then she would wither rapidly. That was why many women who married well became more beautiful after marriage. Meanwhile, women who did not marry well worried about many things daily and looked older than their actual age. Women who had money and time would normally think of how to pamper themselves. Poor women would have to work hard for a living. Her mother had also told her that a woman's best dowry was not her family wealth, but her education. That was why Lu Qingxin studied hard and continued to play the violin until now, even though she did not like it. Had she not learned how to play the violin, the capital university wouldn't have made an exception and accepted her. Elder brother Yanqing, I'm fine. Really, she assured Gu Yanqing. Don't be like that. We are in the capital. Lu Qingxin was a very observant person. Li Qingsong had bodyguards. He wasn't just an ordinary person. Perhaps he was a bigwig in the capital. If Gu Yanqing offended a bigwig like Li Qingsong, he would be making things difficult for himself. So, what if he's from the capital? Even those from the capital have to obey the law, Gu Yanqing emphasized. Li Qingsong laughed coldly at Gu Yanqing's words. He could not be bothered to talk to someone unimportant like Gu Yanqing. Talking to a retard was an insult to his own intelligence. Li Qingsong turned around and looked at his guards. Add both of them to the list. If they come again, toss them out. If they come more than 3 times, break their legs, he ordered. Gu Yanqing clenched his fists. This was his first time to meet such an arrogant man, an extremely arrogant man. Lu Qingxin was cowed by Li Qingsong's domineering aura for some reason. To her, Li Qingsong was perfect. Li Qingsong heard Yi Tianxin's footsteps behind him, and his icy cold expression started to melt slowly. Lu Qingxin had been watching Li Qingsong's face. That was how she saw the changes in his expression clearly. Elder sister. Yi Tianxin seemed not to hear Lu Qingxin calling out for her. She walked up to Li Qingsong's side. Then she remarked, don't stoop down to the level of these unimportant people. Your health is important. Let's go. Yi Tianxin held Li Qingsong's wrist, and he made a sound of agreement. Elder sister, are you really not going to forgive Dad? What do you want us to do before you forgive us? Li Qingsong said curtly. It's noisy. The guards surged forward. Gu Yanqing frighteningly shielded Lu Qingxin, enveloping her in his arms. Lu Jijuan's eyes were filled with disappointment.